Yeah, thanks, Marcus. Hello, everyone. I'm Nindi. I'm a fellow Mac admin and app developer, and I'm going to be talking about macSAK. So I remember sitting in my office about 2 years ago, noticing a pattern that I was getting frustrated. I was tending to do things very manually, and I didn't really know what tools are out there to help me solve what I was trying to do at the time. So instead of sitting there having a sook and doing nothing about it, I thought I'd start compiling a list of tools. And that slowly evolved into something what I call the Mac Swiss Army knife, or macSAK for short. So that's what I'm here to talk about today. I'm going to be highlighting my, is that showing up? Awesome. My top 10 tips and tricks for 2019. And my goal for today is everyone's going to walk away learning something new. So with that in mind, let's get cracking. All right, first up, we've got Zee Shell. So everyone knows Terminal, the Terminal app. We've got Bash as the default shell for Terminal up until macOS Mojave. Turns out other shells actually ship with macOS, one of which is Zee Shell. Bring it up here. Awesome. One more. There we go. It was released in 1990 with the idea that it extends on Bash. It's pretty compatible with Bash, and it does have a different licensing model to Bash. Now, I'm not a licensing expert by any means, but the trend seems to be Apple's moving away from GPL licensed software. So extrapolate what you will from that, but it looks like, yeah, it is what it is. It's also going to be the default in Catalina moving forward. So it looks like Zee Shell is here to stay. Zee Shell has tons of cool features, my favorite of which is a third-party plugin integration. The most popular plugin architecture is Oh My Zee Shell. So it offers things like advanced tab completion, which we'll go into a demo in a little bit. Things like syntax highlighting. So as you start typing out commands, you get color coding, and it tells you when you're doing things right, when you're doing things wrong. And auto suggestions. So if you're typing things that you've typed in your history, you can sort of auto complete. Nice and easy way to get through those commands quickly. So once we set up Zee Shell, we're going to start playing with some cool command line tools. First of which is the freaking fast file manager, otherwise known as FFF. I've got a little, is that playing? Yes, that is playing. I can't see that it's playing here. It's a really easy way to save you from typing long path directories to jump between folders. It supports smooth scrolling, and a really cool feature is it automatically changes directory on exit. So if we look at the demo here, we're at my desktop. And if we jump, it's looping. We'll jump into FFF. We're at my home folder. We go to library. We go to application support. We jump out. We're automatically in application support. So nice and quick, easy way to jump between folders. Really cool tool that I tend to leverage quite a bit. So that's FFF in a nutshell. Next up, we've got Bat, which is a cat clone with wings. So we love cat. Cat's our best friend. We use cat to read the contents of plain text files. That's what cat looks like there. Bat takes it to a whole new level. With Bat, you get color coding. You get the lines. Really quick and easy way to see the contents of those plain text files in color. You can also, so that's a script example there. You can also look up things likeplists. You can also look up things like your markdown files. So everyone's doing documentation here, right? Right? Yeah. Yeah, so bat. Why would you cat when you can bat? Okay. Continuing with the theme of color. So looking up directory listings using the ls command. This is what a normal ls command output would look like. Gives us the information, but again, it's plain. I find it boring. exa or xr takes it to the next level. It's ls on steroids. So you get color coding. You can see that the file types are grouped. So I've got images there which are in that pinkish color, compressed files are orange. So at a high level, you can sort of see that breakdown there. You can also do cool things like tree structure. So if you've got a complex folder structure and you want to get a rough overview of what's going on, you can view that using EXA. And for all the people out there using Git, you can do cool things like Git status within that command, so you can see files that have been modified. Okay, with that in mind, let's jump into a demo. So I'm going to highlight how to set up Zee Shell and how to leverage FFF, BAT, and EXA. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so if I open up terminal, I'm just going to show you which shell I'm in at the moment. Let's try that again. Okay, we're in Bash at the moment. So there's a couple of ways we can switch to Zee Shell. Easiest way is to go to your preferences, and you can specify the default shell that you want to use. So in this case, we'll go bin, if I can type, bin Zee Shell. You can also download a more up-to-date version that doesn't ship with the operating system, and that would be installed in user local bin Zee Shell. So if I do that and open up a new terminal window, you can see the prompt slightly different, and I'm in Zee Shell at the moment. You can see that in my title bar there as well. That's one way you can switch to Zee Shell. Another way you can do it is, I'm just going to reverse this, and we're going to set it back to our default login shell. If I jump back into System Preferences, Users and Groups, and unlock Advanced, you can set it here. So this will pick up all the built-in ones. Again, you can specify whichever one you want. If you've installed third-party ones, in this case, I'm just going to go bin Zee Shell. Okay, okay. And now when I open a new terminal window, I'm already there. I'm in Zee Shell, ready to rock. Okay, so let's go through some cool features of Zee Shell. If you notice my prompt here, you can set it up however you want. I've set it up to show the current time, who the current user is, and where I am. Okay, so some of the third-party features that I mentioned before, like syntax highlighting. So as you start typing commands, you notice that the color changes for what you're typing. Great. You can also do variable substitution. There you go. So you sort of get that color breakdown. It tells you what's going on. Tab completion, I mentioned that before. So if I start typing a command, whoops, and I don't know, sorry, there you go, tab completion. So that'll complete it for me. If I didn't know what the command was, I get a list there. If I tab again, I can just pick what I want. Pretty handy. Notice it's green. If I type something that doesn't exist in my path, it converts to red. So you get an idea of what you can type before you hit go. Okay. And lastly, we've got auto suggestions. So if I start typing something that I've typed before, notice in the gray text, you've got something I've typed before. I can just hit write, boom, I'm there. So that's very basic. We've got Zee Shell set up with some cool built-in nice-to-haves. Let's take it to the next level. So everyone here uses Nano, VI, Vim, text editors in general. What you can do is, let me just bring up some files. So you can actually set up your shell to add color to things like Nano. So if I want to see the contents of this text file, boom, color. If I go back, do the same with a plist. That didn't work. That was meant to work. It worked half an hour ago. You get the idea though. Let's have a look at this markdown file. There you go. So you get color. So you can set it up with different rules for different files. That's Nano. You can also add color to things like man pages. So man uses the less pager, the less command to page files. So you can do cool things like this. Oh wait, sorry, that's not in here. Sorry, my bad. Not man Marcus. We'll go man ditto. Okay, so you get color highlighting in your man pages, which is pretty cool. Another example. Whoops. There you go. So all your options are in a different color, your headings are in a different color. Pretty cool. Okay. Nice fun fact, if you type in a command, let's go ditto, and you right click, and you go open man page, you also can get the man page there. In a nice scrollable text window. Really cool, nice to have. Another thing that I've set up in Zee Shell is you can actually see it here. So the execution time for long commands, you can specify how long you want that threshold to be. So I've just got a test script that I'm going to execute here. And I think all it's doing is sleeping, something like that. There you go. And that took 3 seconds and it's alerted me if that's of value to you. All right, cool. So we've got Zee Shell set up. Let's have a look at the other commands. Let's start with FFF. Now I've actually set up an alias, just the letter F, and I'll explain why in a sec. But I can jump into the freaking fast file manager. I can use the directional keys to jump around. I can use the right key to go into a folder, so I can go to my desktop by hitting right. If I want to go back a folder, I can hit left or backspace. I can also use it to open files. So I've got files on my desktop. And I've got a picture here. If I hit return on that, it opens up in the default application that it's set to. I've got a Word doc, same deal. Test, great. You can also set it to text files. And in this case, it's VI. How do we get out of VI again? Is that right? Oh, first time. Cool. You can also see hidden files. So if you hit the period button, the full stop button, you can see hidden files, and same deal, you can view them as well, which is pretty cool. Awesome. Now I mentioned the alias that I set up before. You can use that to automatically change directory on exit. So what does that mean? So if I just quit out of here, and I look at my working directory, I'm in that FFF folder. What I can do from there is jump back into FFF, go back, jump out. That didn't work. That was meant to work. That worked half an hour ago. What should be happening? Live demos, why? What should be happening is on exit, it's writing the contents of where you are to a file, and then when you jump back, Zee Shell's picking that up and taking you to that location. That should have worked. So that's FFF in a nutshell. Next up, we've got BAT. It's going to set up my windows. Let's go 1. Let's go 2 and 3. Okay, so this is cat. Let's cat a file. And then let's bat a file. Okay, so we get syntax highlighting. You've got all the nice color coding. You've got your line numbers. Pretty handy. You can do the same with other files. Not cat, bat. So we've got a plist here. You get that same syntax highlighting and the line numbers. You can also do files like Markdown, README files. Boom, you get the syntax highlighting there. You can get pretty creative. You can also do things like multiple files. So I can bat more or less the contents of a whole folder. It might be a little hard to read, but it's just one after the other, and it actually pages them so you can step through. If you want to see things like hidden characters or non-printable characters, you can do a little flag -A. I think it stands for all. And let's go with this one. You can see things like tabs, spaces, character returns, line feeds, that sort of thing. Really handy, especially if you're doing things like Python, where spacing and indentation matters. So that's BAT. And next up, we've got EXA. So let me just set that up as well. Okay. Just going to navigate to. Oops. Cool. So window on the left, we're just going to list the contents of this folder. I do actually have some, maybe I should make this a little bit, or smaller, I should say. Okay, so I do get a little bit of color highlighting built into Zee Shell using the ls command, but with exa, I get much more. I'll just make this a little bigger. So you can see the permissions are of a certain color, the ownership of the files is set to a certain color, things like folders are a certain color. A really easy way to break down the contents of a folder. You can do things like adding headers. So in this case, I want to see the same contents, but I want to see what the headers are. So you can add a little h, and you get headers like that there, which is pretty handy. Say, for example, I want to see information about the group ownership. I could do something like this, G for group. And I've got this column here now, the group column, and I can see that it's all staff. Another thing I can do is tree. So I want to see the contents in a tree-like structure. So same thing, I want to see, say, long. I want to see the headers this time, but I want to see it in a tree format. So I sort of get that breakdown there. The window's a little small, but you sort of get the idea. You can sort of get an overview of the structure of your folders. You can also do cool things like extended attributes. So say you want to get information on the contents of the folder, and extended attributes is the @ symbol. You can get all this sort of metadata information about the files that you've got. Very handy when you're troubleshooting things like gatekeeper, sandboxing, that sort of thing. Cool, so that's exa. Let's jump back to the slides. Let's find out some more cool tools. Okay, so next up, I've got linters. Can I just have a quick show of hands? Do people know what linters are? Who knows what linters are? Who uses linters? Cool, cool. For those who don't know, high level, linters are effectively spell check for your scripts. So a crude example is, say, your scripts are a crime scene, and your linters are like a blacklight that help you show where the murders occurred. So most of the linter tools are command line tools, but they're also integrated into some pretty popular, text editors. I personally use Atom, and I'm actually just going to jump straight into a demo. So I'm going to highlight a few different linters. Shell check for Bash, Flake8 is a popular one for Python, and Remark, which is used for Markdown or README documentation. Let's have a quick look at how that works. Okay. So I've got some files here. Let's have a look at this Bash example. Okay, so that's my Bash script. Looks pretty good, right? Wrong. It's horrible. Okay, so I've just turned on linting, and it might be a little hard to see, but we've got all these little error messages that pop up down the bottom. Let's see if I can bring that up. And you can probably see these little, like I said, spell check. So you've got these little squiggles and these little dots that indicate that there's something that that is wrong or could be better. And it's literally just a matter of working through these and trying to get it down to a happy state. So to work through them, let's have a look at this. This location character, it says that it appears to be unused. We'll have a look and see why that is the case. I can see here that in this words array, I've got a location variable, but I've single quoted it, so it doesn't seem to be picking that up. So let's change that to a double quote. And I've just gotten rid of that error. So I can see with more confidence that that's actually working the way it's intended. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Worm appears unused. So for worm in words, that should be word. Typo. There you go, it's another one fixed. Let's have a look at this one. Expanding an array without an index only gives the first element. So I haven't expanded this. So what we can do is expand it. Oops. I've got my syntax correct. There we go. So I don't have any errors anymore. Things look good. If I go to execute it, hooray, it should be printing. There we go. So down the bottom, hello everyone, and welcome to Xworld. So I can with more confidence, I can see that the script is working, and yeah, not having that fear of, has it been tested. It's a nice, handy way of testing your scripts. So that's a bash example. Let's have a quick look at Python. Okay, so same deal. It's literally just stepping through these. Python's very picky with the indentation and spacing. So here it expected 2 blank lines. Yes, sir. Still got another error. Invalid syntax. It's actually missing a colon in this case. Here we go. Oh, if I have a jump here. Multiple of 4. Sure. Indentation. Let's have a look at this one. So it's not able to pick up the string literal. In this case, I haven't quoted it properly. I've got a single quote here. I've got a double quote here. So let's clean that up. Cool. And what do we have here? Expected 2 blank lines. Oh, we found one. So let's go there. And I've got another one here. Import OS. It's imported but not used. Cool. Let's get rid of it. Done. So if I run this, it fails. Let's try it again. There we go. Hello everyone, and welcome to Xcode. Awesome. So that's another Python example. And if I jump back here, I've got another quick README example. Okay, so I've actually got a README previewer in here. Cool. So this text here should actually be a PNG that's not displaying, so I can have a look at that. Use of trailing, I just know this one should have brackets around it. This one here, the bolding hasn't worked, so I can clean that up. You sort of get the idea. What do we have here? Remove 1 space, and I've forgotten to set up this link correctly. So there we go. So my image started working, my links are showing correctly. Happy days. That's Linters. I won't save that. Cool. Let's keep powering through. Next up, we've got Touch ID Pluggable Authentication Module, or PAM. So you can use, when you use Sudo in terminal, you get a little prompt that asks you for your username and password for an administrator. If you're using a MacBook Pro with a Touch ID, you can actually set something up so it looks like this. So you can just access Sudo via your fingerprint. Disclaimer, this does involve modifying a file there. So the file that lives in etc pam.d sudo, you would have to add a line here. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, don't do it. I feel comfortable doing it, so I do it. It is a part of the operating system. There is no GUI way to turn this on. So I guess proceed with caution would be my advice. So that's Touch ID PAM in a nutshell. Next up, we've got Pretty Ping. So just a ping refresher. This is what ping looks like. Ping's awesome. It's very verbose though. And you've got to wait till the end to sort of see the statistics, the summary. Pretty Ping looks something like this. It's a wrapper for ping. So it does actually use the same arguments as ping does, but it gives you a nice little terminal graph, and you get the stats at the same time, which is pretty handy. It's written in Bash and Awk, so it's pretty lightweight. Just works with macOS, and it's pretty, right? Pretty's good. So that's Pretty Ping. Next up, we've got HTOP. So again, a top refresher. Top is great, again, but it's very verbose, and it's all just single color text. HTOP, again, takes this to the next level. Much more graphical. Sort of like Activity Monitor in your terminal. So it gives you your CPU breakdown, your memory breakdown, your swap breakdown. You can actually use your mouse to sort the columns, and you can scroll through the processes that are running. Really, really handy if you're in Jam. So that's HTOP, and we're going to go into some examples in just a little bit. Last one I've got here is Cinema, and you can use it to record your terminal sessions. So all the little GIFs that I've got in my presentation were actually recorded using this tool, Cinema. You can export them as a GIF, and I use them in my READMEs because nobody wants to write a whole heap of code, right? So let's jump into another quick demo. So I'll go through the Touch ID, PAM, Pretty Ping, HTOP, and Cinema. Okay. So have a quick look at the PAM file that I was talking about. So it's this line here. This is what you would have to add in order for Touch ID to start working. Again, proceed with caution. If you do not feel comfortable, do not do this. So if we have a look at example, I just want to say sudo echo hello x world. I get that little prompt. I put my finger on. Happy days. If I open up a new terminal window and do the same, but this time I hit cancel, it defaults to normal behavior. So in this case, I can either type in the password manually or just cancel. I will type in the password. And it works just like sudo works. So we've already we've already escalated, and it'll just work. So that's the Touch ID PAM. Next up, we've got Pretty Ping. So let's ping some random website. That's ping. Ping is great. Let's Pretty Ping over here. And you get that graph, so you can sort of see, in a smaller amount of space, just about the same information. Very cool. That's Pretty Ping. Let's clear these. Let's have a look at HTOP. Whoops. There's top. Top's great, but HTOP is better. So you can actually scroll. You can scroll through, like I said before. You can sort say you want to sort by CPU usage or memory usage. Very, very handy. Now, conscious of time, so I might skip ahead with Cinema. I'll jump back to that if we have time in a bit. Let's go. Okay, so this is my lucky last one. Quick Look plugin. So we use Quick Look pretty much everywhere in the operating system. So if you hit spacebar on common files, you can, do pretty cool things like get a thumbnail or a preview of files like, in this case, a keynote presentation, images. You can also get more information on applications. You can actually download and install Quick Look plugins for custom file types. So let's just jump straight into a demo, and I can show you some cool custom Quick Look plugins that you can have a play with. Okay, so let's have a look. So I've got, I'll show you where they're located actually. So I've installed them in /library Quick Look, and they're these QL generator files, and that's what allows you to do the Quick Look on these custom file types. So in this case, I've got an image. This one here gives you the resolution and the DPI, which is pretty handy, file size as well. And for different images, you get obviously different information. We've got Suspicious Package, which is a pretty cool free tool that gives you information about packages, whether they're signed or not. Very, very handy. You can actually, if you've got post-install scripts, you can actually dive in and see them without actually having to open the package. You can also look up plain text scripts. For example, this is just a bash example. This one here is a Python example. You can also look up JSON files, which is pretty handy, and README files, so your markdown files there. Pretty handy. Now, this up-and-coming Swift developer from Melbourne's been working on something. He wanted me to present this. So mobile configs, you can actually look up Quick Look mobile configs. Look something like this. That's why I left it to the end. You like? Yeah, so you can hover. I'm grabbing this information. Sorry, the person from Melbourne's grabbing this information from Apple's documentation, developer.apple.com. All the keys that have been set will show up, and the idea will be that all the payloads that are in the profile will show up. So if you had fewer payloads, this list would be shorter. It also supports signed mobile config. So this one's a signed one. It doesn't have a proper payload, but you can see here that I've signed this one just as a test. It's going to show you that as well. This is something that Melbourne developers are working on, hoping to release ready for Catalina. Cool. So that's quick look plugins. That's my top 10. When I actually hit go, it's going to be available at that link up the top. I'm hoping everyone is going to walk away learning something new. Is there anyone that knew all 10? 9? 10? No? Awesome. Killed it. That's all I got. That's me. I do all of the Swift things at GitHub, so please check it out. If you want to get in touch with me, please feel free to shoot me an email or hit me up on Slack. Thank you so much for listening, and please enjoy the rest of the conference.